Yo, it's MOPOWERZ, and we are BACKAGAIN on a super Sunday evening. That's right, with more great news for you all in regards to Black History Month, meaning that we are going to continue this book, The Mis-Education of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. And if you all have not caught the last 10 lives, go right back down through the lives and watch all of those. And then after that, I'm sure you get off into the world, 16 crucified saviors and so forth. But anyway, we're going to move straight into this because time is valuable. So we're going to get through this as quick as possible. And we only have 3.5 pages today, and that'll be chapter 11. And tomorrow will be chapter 12. And once again, happy Black History Month. Today is what? Day 5 of Black History Month? But every day is Black History Month. But this chapter 11, the need for service rather than leadership. Okay. The need for service rather than leadership. In this untoward situation, the Negro finds himself at the close of the third generation from emancipation. He has been educated in the sense that persons directed in a certain way are more easily controlled, or as Ovid remarked, in time the bull is brought to bear the yoke. The Negro in this state continues as a child. He is restricted in his spirit to small things, and with these things he becomes satisfied. His ambition does not rise any higher than to plunge into the competition with his fellow for these trifles. At the same time, those who have given the race such false ideas are busy in higher spheres from which Negroes, by their miseducation and racial guidance, have been disbarred. Examples of this failure of the miseducated Negro to have high ideas may be cited. The author has known numerous cases of Negro lawyers, physicians, and businessmen who, while attending local Sunday schools, churches, and lodges, have fallen out about trifles like a resolution or the chairmanship of a committee, which so embittered them as to make themselves enemies for life and stumbling blocks, preventing any such thing as organization or community cooperation. We see this right next door to yourself. Do you get along with the people right next door to you? If they're doing something, do you support it if it's for a good cause? I'm just saying. Small little things. And everybody wants to be a big chief, but nobody wants to be an Indian. In order to be a chief, you have to be a good Indian first. I'm just saying. It is a common occurrence to see a Negro well situated as a minister or teacher aspiring to a political appointment which temporarily pays little more than what he is receiving and offers no distinction except that of being embarked as a Jim Crow job set aside for some Negro who has served well the purpose of the bosses as a ward healer. Ward healer? Yeah. In a campaign. You see, we just spoke about that the other day. You can run the campaign for us, but you can't, be a part of what we're talking about in the back room. You can go hand out them hats and those buttons, and pamphlets, and you can go do all of that. And we'll let you be in charge of that. You're the street organizer, but you won't be back in the back with us. I'm just saying. Negroes of this point of view have developed in part of the country where it is thought that the most distinguished persons in the community are those who hold and exploit the local offices, or those who are further honored with positions in the state and nation. While this may apply in the case of their oppressors, the few positions allotted the Negroes are magnified beyond all reasonable bounds. This comes as a natural result. However, from the education of the Negro requires it, the ambitious, miseducated Negro in the struggle for the little things allotted by others prevents any achievement of the people in matters more constructive. Potentially, the colored people are strong, although they are actually weak. I hope you all got that. Negroes who have been begun promising businesses, enterprises, sometimes abandoning them temporarily for the same sort of empty honor. In this way, they have been known to hamper their business by incurring the displeasures of ambitious politicians who might otherwise patronize them. This such ado about nothing renders impossible cooperation, the most essential thing in the development of a people. The ambitious of this class, the ambitious of this class do more to keep the race in a state of turmoil and what? To prevent it from serious community effort than all of the other elements combined. The one has a job that the other wants, or the one is a leader of a successful faction, and the other is struggling to supplant him. Why? If you want to be like your brother, help your brother. I find that we become envious and jealous for no reason of a person who got skills. I'm just saying, you know, most people in this world are workers versus thinkers. And those thinkers who look like me encounter enemies who look like them just because we may know a little bit more. But that little bit more that we do know, they don't want it because they don't value it and they see no value in it. Yet and still, this is the very same thing that can save our lives as a whole. They have children, but they're not thinking about their children. No, because if they did, many would come together as a whole versus individualism. If I wanted to open up a mechanic shop in the neighborhood, how many would support me in that? And then after I get the business, they try to talk me down the price that I can't even run the business anymore. Sad, but true. Anyway, I'm going to continue with this. The one who has a job that the other one wants, or the one is the leader of a successful faction and the other is struggling to supplant him. Everything in the community then must yield ground to this puerile contest. Why does it has to be a contest? Remember that I said when you are in competition with someone, you actually take the focus off yourself so that you end up losing because you took that split second off yourself being distracted by what the next man is doing. I'm just saying. In one city of a few thousand Negroes, there is no chance for community operation because of the antagonism of the Methodist and the Baptist preachers in charge of the two largest churches. The one antagonism of the Methodist and Baptist preachers is one is determined to dictate the appointment of the teaching corps and the social welfare workers. The other is persistently struggling to undo everything accomplished by his opponent. The one is up today and the other is exceedingly tomorrow. Several efforts have been made to start businesses, enterprises there, but none has succeeded because one faction tears down what the other one builds up. Sad. Now, if we haven't figured that out in all this time and we say that we are masters and doctors and philosophers and conscious people, even with all of the money that we make right now, millionaires, why we still don't have nothing in the neighborhood? Why do we just see other cultures of people in the community or in the neighborhood and doing business? Why we don't have the store that's on the corner? We couldn't afford it. we couldn't afford it. I guarantee you, if you took the drug money that you make on that same corner in a week, you could have bought the store. I'm just saying. In another city, the cleavage is along political lines. Preachers are there, but a lawyer and a dentist plunging into politics have disposed the clergy on the stage. The leader of one faction is so bitterly opposed to the other that he even warns strangers against going to the home of his adversary. To present a same proposition in the community through one of these leaders means local warfare rather than an effort to work together for the common good. Consequently, although there are thousands of Negroes living together in one quarter, they have no businesses and enterprises of worth except drugs. Yeah, and I put the except drugs in there because that's the only thing that we as a whole seem to be successful at. Drugs, death, and destruction, killing ourselves. If you look at other cultures of people, they're not doing that which our culture of people are doing. And you wonder why we don't have anything. Maybe because we have no common sense anymore. And not to mention, we have the Willie Lynch syndrome. Still have it today. Sad, but true. The selfish struggle for personal aggrandizement, which has not been yet brought either faction more than the opponent on the police force or a clerkship in one of the city offices, thus blocks the social and economic progress of thousands of unoffending people. In another state, the ambition of the highly educated Negro is restricted to becoming principals, excuse me, in high schools. Let me get some water here. The neglected state schools has not developed sufficiently to become attractive. The warring area then is in the crisis, meaning like Beirut, Chirac here, because when you send your kids to school or when you wake up in the morning, you're living in a war zone. Me personally, I don't live in a war zone. Haven't for years. In fact, about it, left long time ago. And when you leave the hood, don't go back to live there. Go visit, but don't go back to live because the wolves have changed. The faces have changed. The energy has changed. And the people and the wolves and the bears and all of the rest of the killers that you probably hung around in your days are no longer, they still have status as being OGs, but you got these young crazy kids out there running blocks right now. And they don't want to listen to you at all. However, depending upon what you do, hey, I remember back in the day, me, Kevin Illaflows, Tia, and this other sister named Jahada. We used to go knock on people's doors and talk to them about God. And one day we was in Argyle Gardens, and the guy came to the door, and he had house full of people, and they was all smoking weed and drinking. He said, if you want to talk to us about God, you have to get high with us. Man, where the weed at, bro? Let's talk about God and smoke. Right up our alley, went right inside their house, smoked, talked about God, left out, and on top of that, made a new friend. And on top of that, left those people in that house with an entirely different perspective about God. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do in regards to get to where you need to go or to get your goal accomplished. But in this case, in which he's talking about, we don't do that. We're rather war with one another versus then pull our sources together. Stupid. Just stupid. No wonder the world looks at us as a laughing stock. It's simple mathematics. 10-year-olds can do it. A monkey and his gorilla family can do it. I'm just saying. They're not using money, but they use other things to show their unity and how the elders take care of the community. And those who are under the elders, they listen to the elders. They don't disrespect them. Have you ever watched a gorilla fight another gorilla because they disrespected the clan? Talk about a battle. Yeah. Back in the day, we used to have it that way too. Before the influx of drugs, crack. Back in the 60s, the CIA used heroin in the Black people community to destroy them from being a cohesive unit. And even today, it is still the same way. Drugs has left, the use of drugs in Black people neighborhoods have left them more so in a almost never become alive again state. 100. Black people are still recovering and still using drugs that is killing them, and they're selling them to their own people. Sad, but true. In another state, the ambitions of the highly educated Negro is restricted to becoming principals of the high school. Hey, they're not going to let you teach your own curriculum, okay? The neglected state school, excuse me, the neglected state schools has not developed sufficiently to become attractive. The Warren area, then in these cities and at the crisis, because in one of them where several Negroes own considerable wealth, which, if pooled and properly used, will produce all but wonderful results. But the petty strife has been most disastrous. Little thought is given to social uplift, and economic effort is crushed by factional wrangling. Before the author had been in one of the towns an hour, a stalwart of a faction sounded him on becoming a candidate for the position held by the principal of the high school. A few minutes thereafter, another approached him for advice as to how to get him out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And speaking about high school principals, remember that movie Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman? How many people wanted him out that school? But he was for the upliftment of that school and made that school something. Yet you still had that ragdoll Black woman, okay, who even went to the mayor, the fire marshals, and everything to get that Black man out that school. He took the gangs out of the school, took the drugs out of the school. Their grades came up, their state level grades came up, and this Black woman still wanted him out of the school. If you haven't watched Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman and Benson, yeah, go check it out. It's a classic. The high cost of this childishness to the community can be estimated only by taking into consideration the fact that this strife is all but endless. If it were a matter that developed now and then only to be forgotten by people directing their attention thereafter to more important things, it would not do much harm. But this confusion continues for years. Sometimes it grips a community for a whole generation, vitiating the entire life of the people, killing them. No unity whatsoever. In spite of the meager rewards, however, the idea of leadership looms high in the Negro mind. It always developed thus among oppressed people. The oppressor must have some dealing with the despised group, and rather than have contact with individual, he approaches the masses through his own spokesman. Sounds familiar? Uh-huh. Jesse. And what's the Reverend? New York? Yeah, that dude, the rat. The rat. You know who I'm talking about. The term itself connotes a backward condition. It strides upward. A race shuffles off its leaders because they originate outside of the group. They constitute a load that sinks the oppressed in the mire of trials and tribulations. Now I tell you, some of these words that I'm reading, it's crazy because some of them are really misprinted. It doesn't make sense, but we're reading it as it is, and I will, impose when I need to. Leadership is usually superimposed for the purpose of directing the course of the ostracized group along some lines. This was accomplished during the days of slavery by restricting the assembly of Negroes to certain times and places and compelling them to meet in the presence of a stipulated number of the wisest and discreetest men of the community. The supervisors of the conduct of Negroes would prevent them from learning the truth, which might make them unruly or ambitious to become free. And that's why they keep giving you that Negro preacher talking about Jesus. That has worked for centuries. See, the chains is off, literally, physically, but mentally the chains are still on because we can't even think for ourselves. And I don't understand people who still accept to death the religion of the oppressor, of their oppressor. Sad, but true. After the Negroes became free, the same end was reached by employing a Negro or some white man to spy upon and report behind closed doors on a plan to enslave Negroes' minds. In case the actual employment as a spy seemed too bold, the person to be used as such an instrument took up some sort of enterprise which the oppressors of the race warmly supported to give him a desired influence in the community. The racial racketeer might be a politician, minister, teacher, director of a community center, or head of a social uplift agency. As long as he did certain things and expressed the people's opinion on questions, he lacked nothing, and those who followed him found their way apparently better paid as the years went by. Sounds familiar? His leadership then was recognized, and the ultimate undoing of the Negroes in the community was assured. Such leadership, too, has continued into our day as it goes forward from bad to worse. The very service which this racial today renders hardens him with the extent that he loses his soul. He becomes equal to any task the oppressor may impose on him, and at the same time, he becomes artful enough to press his case convincingly before the thoughtless multitude. What is right is sacrificed because everything that is right is not expedient. Whew. Smack, smack, smack. Smack, smack, smack. I'm just saying. And what is expedient soon becomes unnecessary. Recently, a citizen, observing how we may have been thus betrayed, suggested that there be called a national meeting to take steps for a program of development of the race from within under a new leadership. Such a movement can be made to mean something, and then it can degenerate into an assembly of abuse and vituperation, followed by the usual whereas, therefore, be it resolved effort, which has never meant anything in the awakening of the development of an oppressed people. Smack! Smack! Share the information. Press the subscribe button. Share, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, dropping these jewels on you. I tell you, Carter G. Woodson, 1933, The Mis-Education of the Negro. Like, share, subscribe. The Negroes, however, will not advance, for if they continue to waste their energy abusing those who misdirect and exploit them, the exploiters of the race are not so much at fault as the race itself. Meaning, if they found you to be stupid and they knock your head off and you still want to get them some money, and they keep knocking your head off and you still want to get them some money, that's on you. We see it every day. We see it every day, even with the drug dealers. Same concept. The drug man is killing you. Hey, it's either crack or Christ in the community. Crack or Christ is your hope in the community. That's sad, but true, because that's what you got, crack and Christ. And both of them doing the same thing, killing you, keeping you in a delusional world, killing your pockets, killing your energy, killing you spiritually. Crack and Christ, same job. One selling dope and the other selling hope. And when you can't find hope, you do dope. I'm just saying. The miseducation of the Negro. The Negroes, however, will not advance at all if they continue to waste their energy abusing those who misdirect and exploit them. The exploiters of the race are not as much as fault as the race itself. If Negroes persist in permitting themselves to be handled in this fashion, they will always find someone at hand to impose on them. This matter is one which rests largely with the Negroes themselves. The race will free itself from exploiters just as soon as it decides to do so. No one else can accomplish this task for the race. It must plan and do for itself, which sounds like what Elijah Muhammad said: do for self. And y'all thought that he was a crazy man. You was crazy when you thought that he was opening up businesses. And he was so smart enough, yes, that he was getting money from white philanthropists, okay, to help him with his empire. He was that smart and only went to the 4th grade. And you say you got a master's degree and a doctor's degree and you can't even do that. I'm just saying. Checking up on what they do, Negroes often find themselves giving money and moral support to various persons and institutions which influence the course of the race in the wrong way. They do not often ask themselves whether the support thus given will rebound in long run to the good of the people with whom they are identified. They do not inquire whether the assistance thus given offers temporary relief, but eventually results in irreparable loss. So many Negroes often do themselves harm when they actually believe that they are doing good. Under their present teachers, they commit easily, under their present teachers, they cannot easily learn to do any better. Damn. Damn. Press that subscribe button. Did you just hear what I said? Under their present teachers, they cannot easily learn to do any better. And you wonder why your kids are messed up. The teachers are not qualified. And if they are qualified, from my experience, Most teachers are white women. Mhm. And you have Karens that are teachers, just like you have Kens that are teachers. And that has been proven in our society. I don't know how many times within the last year. Y'all better stop playing. If we don't do for self, like Marcus Garvey said, we'll be what? All dead, all gone. No life, nothing for your children. When you hear a man talking, then always inquire as to what he is doing or what he has done for humanity. Oratory and resolutionists do not avail much. If they did, the Negro race would be in paradise on earth, meaning that we got all of these charismatic talkers, but ain't nobody did nothing because they're exploiting us too. Now, we can see some benefit from what they are running past us, and we can see some other things going on. Yeah, we'll support, but you still have one fool who won't even get on board, becomes a hater just to see you fall, even though he ain't gonna make it. So if he feel he won't make it, you ain't gonna make it. And that's how it goes in the bucket of crabs. It may be well to repeat here the saying that old men talk of what they have done, young men of what they are doing, and fools of what they expect to do. The Negro race has a rather large share of the last mentioned class, meaning fools of what they expect to do. Because we can't even think for ourselves. I'm just saying. Keeping it a buck. If we can finally succeed in translating the idea of leadership into that of service, we may soon find it possible to lift the Negro to a higher level. Under leadership, we have come into the ghetto. By service within the ranks, we may work our way out of it. Under leadership, we may have been constrained to do the biddings of others. By service, we may work out a program in the light of our own circumstances. Under leadership, we have become poverty stricken. By service, we may teach the masses how to earn a living honestly. Under leadership, we have been made to despise our own possibilities and to develop into parasites. By service, we may prove sufficient under the task of self development and contribute our part to modern culture. I hope y'all heard that. That was a stupendous live. Stupendous live. Study to show thyself approved. Isn't that what you all say? Read for yourself, see for yourself, think for yourself. Then you can be approved, meaning that you will have sense enough, common sense. Most of the things that you go to school for keeps you away from common sense. Your smartphone. Your smartphone removes your common sense. Your smartphone makes you stupid. It really does. Anyway, the Miseducation of the Negro. Thanks for viewing, you all. Press the subscribe button, notification bell, mhm, mhm, and the like button. Share the information with relatives, friends, co-workers. Remember, knowledge is power. It is your third eye that makes you shine like jewelry. And by all means, never ever give up on your dreams. Thanks for viewing, you all. See you tomorrow. Peace out.